Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video, doing GavsWeatherVids Sunday Round-Up for today's second video. So this is going to be your eclectic mix of this and that. We're going to be looking at things like sea survey temperature, anomalies, solar activity, the Arctic oscillation, the North Atlantic oscillation for QPO, and the weather for next week, 10 days and beyond as well. So sit back, relax, enjoy. And I shall talk you through our Sunday Round-Up very, very shortly. Just say that the first video really was our 7 AM forecast, and we're going to be live streaming from 6 o'clock tonight to have our Sunday evening live stream, check in and see how we're all doing on this Sunday evening. So I shall see you live then. So Sunday live stream, so I'm going to do some long range, of course, show you some CFS data with that one, and yeah, just generally hang out for an hour or so on YouTube. Right, no autumn update this week, but it will be back next week. Right, okay, let's get on with the Sunday Round-Up then. So we're going to have a look at solar activity. So this is how the solar disk is looking on our side of this day from solarham.net. We've got two sunspot regions, one just there and one down here as well. Despite that, though, solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days as well. So this is the GavsWeatherVids Solar Activity Tracker sent through by our good friend James Apquill. Thank you so much to James for updating the solar tracker. This will be the final time that you see the solar tracker. James is really busy at the moment and hasn't got time to update the tracker anymore. So thank you so much, James, for all of the trackers, and of course formerly Analogs Guru as well. Thank you so much, James, for everything that you've done, you know, for GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much, my friend. Right, so this is how the tracker is looking today, though. So the orange line is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. So you can see I've had quite a couple of big spikes actually over the past week or two. So you have one just here, and then a few days ago, a couple of days ago, you had an even bigger one just there. So clearly solar activity is now you know, really starting to move upwards. The trend lines are the thick green and thick red lines. They are moving up quite significantly, quite substantially. So yeah, we're definitely moving further on into solar cycle 25, and things are definitely getting a lot more active. So you can clearly see that like a few months ago, we had really weak levels of solar activity. That was getting some days where we didn't have any sunspots at all. But gradually over time, over the past sort of 4 or 5 months, activity has been increasing. The trend lines definitely lifting up, and particularly so I think in the last month or so, when we do see quite significant levels of solar activity now beginning to appear. So yeah, we're progressing on into solar cycle number 25. Thank you so much to James for the tracker and for all of the trackers. Thank you so much, my friend. Alright, who am I today? Let's have a look. So, it looks like it's Gav the Gladiator. Richard's turning into the Gladiator this week. Wow, I wonder whether I can pull that off. I don't know. I don't think I'm much of a gladiator. But thank you so much, Rich, for turning me into Gav the Gladiator. So this is showing spotless days and the current spotless stretch as well. So the current spotless stretch is 0 days because it had sunspots yesterday. So for 2021, so far, we have had 46 days without sunspots. That's 22% of the year. That percentage is gradually coming down, you know, very slowly, week by week. 2020 had 57% of the year without sunspots. That's the full year, of course, 208 days. And our solar minimum year was in 2019 with 281 days without sunspots. That was 77% of the year. So yeah, you can clearly see we're progressing on into solar cycle 25. We're now over 18 months into solar cycle 25, and gradually activity is increased. But a slow start to solar cycle, but we are progressing on now into a more active phase. Solar maximum is expected to occur around 2025. So we've got a couple of years before we have peak of this solar cycle, but we will see activity increasing over the next couple of years until we reach our solar maximum in solar cycle number 25. Thank you so much to James and to Rich for the data. Right, this is how sea surface temperature anomalies were looking last week when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. So we've got our 3 areas of interest, of course. We've got the ENSO region just here. We've got the Northern Pacific over there. And then we've got the North Atlantic over here. So as I say, that's how things were looking in the oceans when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. This is the latest. So in the ENSO region, we are seeing further signs of cooling. So the La Nina signal is beginning to strengthen slightly in the ENSO region, particularly in this central part of the actual Pacific Ocean. We are thinking, I think, I'm going to do the ENSO update sometime in the next few days. I reckon we're sort of thinking that La Nina could well be on the way back, and we see signs of that now with cooling taking place through the central part of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. No sign of it over on the eastern portion of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean, though, or in the western part of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. But in this central area, yes, we do see signs of cooling through there. So La Nina could be on the way back. And to the south of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean, just here, again, things are getting colder. That's beginning to connect back towards Chile as well. So this is an area, when this area cools down, that can sometimes be a signal for La Nina as well. So I reckon the ocean is beginning to start shifting in that sort of La Nina type direction. In the northern Pacific, it remains very warm, actually, in the northern Pacific, particularly over here in the northwestern Pacific Ocean, around Japan and China. Very, very warm around there. Heading up towards the northeastern Pacific, though, up towards Alaska and Canada and North America. I mean, it is warm on average there, but not as warm as it is further westwards in the northern Pacific. But generally, the northern Pacific is in quite a warm state at the moment, as is the North Atlantic as well. If you have a look at last week's sea surface temperature anomalies in the North Atlantic and go through to this week, you can see that the North Atlantic is in quite a warm state, actually. So the tropical Atlantic down here is looking pretty warm, so that again could be priming things for an active hurricane season. And this cooler area just here is beginning to shrink and disappear as well. So the northern part of the Atlantic, that's how it looked last week with that area of cool average sea surface temperature, but disappearing now. So that shows that the Northern Pacific is also warming. So in a couple of weeks' time, we might have a very of Atlantic, I should say. In a couple of weeks' time, we could have a very warm Northern Atlantic Ocean indeed. As the sea surface temperature anomalies warm in the North Atlantic, that might be a sign that things start to get a little bit more unsettled as well for Northern Europe and for the UK and for Ireland too. But the Atlantic is looking pretty warm, developing La Nina signal perhaps in the central Equatorial Pacific Ocean, and then warm on average in the northeastern Pacific Ocean. CFSV2 is forecasting the return, the re-emergence of La Nina. So we've got our temperature anomalies on the side, and the dates in monthly periods are on the bottom. That's where we currently are with La Nina just there. So, or with ENSO, we're at ENSO neutral, but on the slightly cooler than average. So you can see from the black dash line, which is the ensemble mean, that is dipping down into weak La Nina territory. So we find that, yes, CFSV2 is forecasting a return of weak La Nina when we get into the autumn, and that's been the case over the past few months with CFSV2 as well. There are 1 or 2 ensemble plume members that are going for quite a strong La Nina event setup, but these are outliers. Of course, I think the broad sort of thrust of the ensemble plume is to return to weak La Nina conditions. So we're going to do the ENSO update in a day or so's time, and we'll go through a lot more model data and so on then. Summer oscillation index looking like this, and remember the SOI is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, it's not driving anything in its own terms, just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. It's measuring air pressure between Darwin and Tahiti. So when the SOI is in its positive phase, we are reflecting atmospheric setup in the South Pacific will be reflecting La Nina. When the SOI is in its negative phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. So these are the columns just here, of course. This is for Tahiti, this is for for Darwin, and then that's the overall SOI number. You can see, you know, have had proper positivity of the SOI for several days, if not weeks. So back in the 15th of July was at plus 37, 16th of July we're at plus 33, 17th of July we're at plus 30, 18th of July at plus 17, 19th of July at plus 8, 20th of July at plus 8, 21st of July at plus 8, 22nd of July at plus 16, 23rd of July at plus 17, 24th of July at plus 16, and finally 25th of July at plus 15. So these are solidly positive numbers day after day after day. Tells that the atmospheric setup in the Pacific has very much shifted into a La Nina type setup, like La Nina type conditions, and we can expect that to continue, I think, for the next for the time being, for the foreseeable future. So it looks as though La Nina is on the way back to me, and it's just a case of how strong is this going to get. It's quite late to be starting off with an ENSO event. Normally they begin earlier in the summer, around May, June time. So we're now into late July. So I don't think this is going to be a strong ENSO event, but we shall see, and time will tell. We'll keep a close eye on it, of course, over the next few days, weeks, and months. Right, this is how the QBO is looking. Remember, the quasi-biennial oscillation is reflecting the strength of the zonal westerlies, basically. So it oscillates between westerly and easterly phases. When the QBO is in its westerly phase, you strengthen, power up the zonal westerlies. When the QBO is in its easterly phase, you weaken the zonal westerlies. It's primarily something that we focus on for winter, but we do look at it year round. If you're in an easterly QBO in the winter, you increase the chance, but don't guarantee. But you might get some blocking and colder weather for Northern Europe and the North Atlantic. So the easterly QBO is developing. Of course, it's moving from the stratosphere into the troposphere. This is the easterly QBO just here, this blue-green area. This is like the top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere. Up there you can see how the easterly QBO is descending from the stratosphere into the troposphere at the moment. So it looks like we're solidly going into the easterly QBO. Last year we had a failure of the easterly QBO. It did not descend, and westerly QBO sort of hung on in the troposphere and then strengthened at the end of 2020. You can see the difference this year, can't you, from last year? So again, the ECQBO never really descends last year. This year, clearly the ECQBO is descending. If we zoom in, you can see that we have got signs of a little bit of westerly QBO at the very top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere. Up here, I explained last week, that's not particularly unusual when you've got the ECQBO developing in the troposphere. You know, between 30 and 50 HPA in this sort of level just here. So yeah, it looks like the ECQBO is very much in the ascendancy, and I would expect this to continue for the rest of the year and for winter 2021-2022 to be an easterly QBO winter, probably quite a strong ECQBO winter at that, and combined with a weak La Nina as well, perhaps. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast, so it looks like this. So much more about that, of course. Much more about that in the winter updates. So that's going to be quite interesting, I think, when we get into our winter update season. We're talking a lot more about QBO and so on when we get into those, and that'll be from the beginning of September. Right, Arctic oscillation observed and forecast. So the AO, the black line shows where we've been with the Arctic oscillation, red lines at the end, where GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go. The current position with the AO is that we are weakly positive. We're expecting the Arctic oscillation, GFS ensembles are expecting Arctic oscillation to go weakly negative before the end of the month, into the beginning of August, and then possibly staying in negative territory, actually, through into the first week or so of August, although there is a little bit of scatter there. But I think the general trend is definitely for the AO to begin to shift in towards a more negative type setup. Probably the most negative been since around the end of April, beginning of May time, that there. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how that develops, but it could be a signal for blocking to start getting going over the Arctic and over Greenland at the end of July and into August. If that starts happening, then that might be a signal for some cooler, wetter weather, perhaps, with jet stream and areas of low pressure going on more of a southerly track. Now, this is quite interesting. This is the NAO observed and forecast chart. So, again, the black line shows where we've been with the NAO, the red line's at the M, where GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to go. So, at the moment, we're neutral to weakly negative with the NAO. You can see that for the next week or so, we're around neutral to weakly negative again to the beginning of August. But later on into the first week of August, the NAO looks like it's shifting into positive territory. So that's going against the idea of low pressure and a southerly tracking jet stream. That would imply that the Azores High might be powering up. So quite confusing what's going on with the AO and the NAO indexes at the moment. I think we just need to keep a close eye and see. If we do get normal blocking going into August, as I say, that could well be a signal for cooler, wetter weather with a southerly tracking jet stream. But it depends what's happening with the Azores High as well. If the Azores High starts to power up, then we will have a lot of fighting going on, perhaps through the early part of August, as like the blocking, but also the Azores, the northern blocking and the Azores High sort of fight it out for the ascendancy. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Right, let's do some forecasts then. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. The next couple of weeks, the red line is above 30-year upper air temperature average in Edinburgh today. So we're starting off warmer than average, of course, at the moment. We're in a pretty warm air mass right now. Into next week, though, we will see the upper air temperatures cooling off. So definitely going into a cooler phase in the coming days. So temperatures will be falling away. And as we go into the closing days of July, the opening days of August, yes, we have cooler than average temperatures. There's no sign of the upper air temperatures returning back to their current level, before the second week of August. Anyway, it looks like we just generally stay a little bit below average and much more unsettled as well. So the next couple of days are going to be relatively dry, but then we're into much more unsettled weather after that, with some pretty big precipitation spikes coming up, really from around middle of next week onwards, right way through to the second week of August. Going to be regular bouts of showers and longer spells of rain coming in with that. So it does look very, very unsettled as we move to the end of July and into the beginning of August. Temperature anomalies on the 25th of July to the 2nd of August are going to be warmer than average in central and northern areas, but a little bit below average in the southern part of the country. These temperature anomalies are cooling down day by day, I think, so we can expect this trend to continue for the next few days as well. Precipitation anomalies on the 25th of July to the 2nd of August are wetter than average as well. So cooling down and turning more unsettled is definitely the message, I think, from the model output. Later info map from earthnullschool.net shows that we've got quite a bit of low pressure in the Atlantic Ocean, and this low pressure will be starting to head our way in the next few days. Right, let's have a look at some model data then. So this is how the UK Met is looking for midnight on Wednesday, when we're under a trough of low pressure, looking really quite unsettled then, with showers and longer spells of rain. Midnight Thursday, again, low pressure is over the top of the country, bringing further showers in, lots of long spells of rain too. That low pressure begins to slip away to our east as we get into Friday, but pulling in a cool and showering northwesterly wind. And then into next weekend, the wind turns northerly with a mid-Atlantic ridge, so that looks quite cool and pretty showery as well. We finish up at midnight on the 1st of August, and again, we're in a northerly flow, and we're looking pretty cool and looking pretty showery at that point. I suppose the showers are probably easing off as pressure is beginning to rise from the Atlantic, but with winds in from the north, it is going to be quite cool, I think, if that comes off. And northern east areas will still be at risk of showers even then. That's the weather outlook. This is how the GFS midnight run is looking from wetter central. So again, on Wednesday, we're under this area of low pressure with showers, multiple spells of rain, and into Thursday and Friday again, we keep the low pressure going with further showers, if not multiple spells of rain. Winds in from the northwest, so bound to be quite cool as well. Next weekend, we have wind in from the north to northwest. Again, a trough is pushing through from Saturday into Sunday. That brings showers, if not some longer spells of rain as well. And then on in towards day 10, we find that we get this little bit of a ridge building from the southwest. So up to day 10, it begins to settle slightly under that ridge. It will be quite cool, I think, still under that ridge, but I suppose with the August sunshine, it will start to warm up a little bit. But it doesn't look like that ridge is lasting all that long, and you know, just a couple of days, and then low pressure's back in again in the extended range, which brings further bouts of rain and quite cool temperatures as well. We finish up with the GFS midnight run looking like that on the 10th of August. Rather showery with winds in from the west and from the northwest, so still quite cool then. The GM looks like that again. Low pressure is over the country on Wednesday, brings further showers, if not some longer spells of rain through the middle into the latter stages of the week. Into next weekend, the wind remains in, or wind will be in from the north. It turns from a northwesterly to a northerly next weekend, so quite cool and showery conditions through the weekend. And then on into the early part of next week, we sort of flatten off the ridge and bring the low pressure back in by day 10. So there is an attempt to build a ridge there around days 8 and 9 just here, but it doesn't really come to much, and the low pressure is back in again by day 10, looking quite unsettled and, you know, quite cool as well. And then the ECM looks like that. So again, low pressure is over to the east of the country on Wednesday, bringing showery northwesterly winds. We keep this low pressure going through to the end of the week with further showers and a pretty cool northwesterly wind as well. Into the weekend, the wind switches to more of a northerly with showers in northern and eastern areas, and it remains quite cool as well. And up to day 10, we've got a new area of low pressure moving in, which is, of course, 4th of August. Again, new low pressure moving in, bringing showers, long spells of rain. Again, there is an attempt to build the Azores high around days 8 and 9 just here, but this low pressure sort of flattens that off and brings unsettled weather back for day 10. So this is looking like quite a protracted spell, but more unsettled weather as we're going into August. We've been talking about it in the videos a lot lately, but I suppose it's just confirmation of that. This is a precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from Meteo.com. So there could be some more heavy showers in the southeast today. Otherwise, most areas will be dry. Best sunshine being in the north and west today. That's where the hottest temperatures will be as well. Into next week, we'll have showery conditions coming in from the west. So heavy showers or longer spells of rain. Through the course of next week. Some of those could be quite heavy times as well. A more general area of rain there later next week into next weekend. Then drier perhaps for a couple of days, and then more wet weather's coming in off the Atlantic by day 10. So looking really quite unsettled by then. It definitely looks like we're moving into a more unsettled phase, doesn't it? Last thing we're going to look at is CFS V2 for August. We can't show you the CFS weeklies. They won't be updated till later. We'll show you those in our live stream from 6 o'clock. And also, we can't show you the options on the table within the ECM ensembles either. Because, again, they won't be updated till later. We'll show those in live stream after 6 o'clock as well. What we can show you, though, the last thing we can show you is CFS V2 monthlies. So, this is 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS shown below. Average heights over and to the east of the country for August, with ridge in the Atlantic going up towards Greenland. That looks like an unsettled August, doesn't it? With winds in from a northwesterly type direction. You'd expect an unsettled month with that. Temperature anomalies are around or below average, so cooler than average for Western Europe. For us, there's no signal, but I would suspect a cooler than average month would be likely, actually, based on that 700 millibar height anomaly. No signal for precipitation, but probably quite an unsettled month as well. It's a very different month being forecast there for August compared to what we've had through June and July, which have been warm months. A very different month and different pattern that we see there for August. Looks much more unsettled, and the placement of a trough of low pressure combined with mid-Atlantic ridge suggests quite a coolish month as well is possible. Right, if you enjoyed this video, then please can you smash the like button, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Tell your friends and family to subscribe as well. and drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And we're done for another Sunday Roundup. We are bringing down the clock on the Sunday Roundups, by the way, because when we get into our winter update season from the beginning of September, we rest the Sunday Roundups then. So, yeah, we're really running down the clock on the Sunday Roundups. Just another, what would it be, another 4 to go, I suppose, through August, and then that's it. We're into winter updates. So, not many more Sunday Roundups left to do, but we have got several left for August, of course. Right, so that's it for Sunday Roundup for this week. We're going to be back later on live streaming at 6 PM, so I shall see you then live. For the Sunday Roundup for this week, though, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.